In the quiet city of Enugu, where neighbors greet each other with warm smiles and the scent of jollof rice floats in the air, Nkiru sat at the dining table, humming softly. Her husband, Obinna, handsome, charming, always smiling, walked in holding a few papers. "Just some routine documents, my love," he said gently, sliding them across the table. Nkiru looked up, trusting him completely. Why would she doubt the man she had loved for years? The man who once danced with her in the rain, who held her hand through sickness and health. She didn't even read the fine print. With a smile, she signed. "Anything for you," she said. Obinna kissed her forehead and walked away, but his smile faded the moment he turned his back. Those weren't just papers. They were the key to everything Nkiru owned. The house, the joint accounts, even her father's land. And now, by signing, she had unknowingly given it all to him. Obinna's heart didn't beat with guilt. Instead, it raced with excitement. His plan was working. That night, Nkiru made his favorite meal and laughed at his jokes, while he pretended nothing had changed. But everything had. She had just handed her entire life over to a man she thought loved her. And Obinna? He was already texting another woman, planning a future that didn't include Nkiru at all. A single signature. One lie. And everything was about to fall apart. While Nkiru stayed in Enugu thinking her husband was working hard for their future, Obinna was living a secret life in Lagos. He had told her he was busy with meetings, late-night projects, and travel, but the truth was far from that. Obinna had rented a beautiful mansion hidden in one of the richest areas of Lagos. Tall white walls, a big black gate, and a pool in the backyard, everything screamed luxury. And inside that mansion lived Mbali, a young, pretty woman who believed she was Obinna's one true love. Obinna had told Mbali a story. He said his marriage with Nkiru was already broken. That they were just waiting for the divorce to be final. He told her he had moved out long ago, that he was starting fresh. Mbali believed every word. She was happy, enjoying soft life, posting pictures in front of cars and marble floors, thinking it was all hers. What she didn't know was that the money came from Nkiru. The same woman who still called Obinna every night to ask if he had eaten, who still prayed for him before bed, not knowing he was lying in another woman's arms. Obinna had a plan. A cold one. First, he made Nkiru sign some documents without reading them. He smiled, kissed her forehead, and called it just routine paperwork. But those papers gave him control over their house, their accounts, everything. Now, he planned to push Nkiru out of the picture completely. Once he had everything in his name, he would leave her and marry Mbali before the month ended. That was the plan. He walked around the mansion with Mbali, pointing at furniture and saying things like, "We'll move that to the Enugu house soon." Mbali laughed, already picking out curtains and imagining their bedroom. She had no idea she was building a life on top of another woman's pain. She didn't ask where the money came from. She didn't care. All she wanted was the lifestyle and the ring. And Obinna was ready to give her both, as long as Nkiru stayed blind. But back in Enugu, Nkiru was still being a good wife. She packed his clothes, sent him voice notes, and even told her friends, "My husband is working too hard, but we're okay." She had no clue that her own home was being given away, that her trust had become a tool in Obinna's masterplan. Her love was real. His was not. Obinna felt powerful. He thought he had it all figured out. 2 women, 2 lives, 1 big secret. But what he didn't know was that the truth always has a way of showing up, sometimes in the smallest way, sometimes with a bang. And when it does, it doesn't care about plans or lies. It only cares about justice. For now, Obinna smiled confidently, checking wedding venues and hiding receipts. But very soon, everything he had built with lies would start to shake. And this time, no amount of charm could save him. It was a quiet Monday morning when Nkiru heard the knock on the door. She wasn't expecting anyone. She opened it and found a plain brown envelope sitting on her front step. No name, no return address, just her name written in big black letters. Curious, she picked it up and took it inside. She sat on the couch, slowly opening it, not knowing that her world was about to break in two. Inside the envelope was a glossy photo and a small card. The photo made her heart stop. It was Obinna, dressed in full traditional groom attire, smiling proudly, standing next to a young woman in a wedding dress. Bali. Nkiru's hand started to shake. Her breath caught in her throat. She stared at the photo, not blinking, as if it might disappear. She looked again. Yes, it was him. The same man who had kissed her goodbye just 2 weeks ago, the same man who still called her, "my love," on the phone. She turned the card over. It was a wedding invitation. A real one. Obinna and Bali's names printed boldly. The date? Just a few days away. She whispered to herself, how is this possible? Her voice was small, almost like a child's. Her eyes filled with tears, but she refused to cry. Not yet. She was still his legal wife. They had never divorced. There had been no separation papers. No goodbye. Just lies. Endless lies. For a moment, she thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe someone was playing a cruel joke. But deep down, she knew it was real. The woman in the photo? She recognized her now. That same face she had seen once on Obinna's phone screen when he quickly locked it, pretending it was just a client. That same girl he said was his cousin's friend. And now she was wearing a wedding dress. Nkiru sat still for a long time. Her tea had gone cold. Her hands were numb. Her thoughts were racing, crashing into each other. So this was the plan. This was why he made her sign those papers. This was why he had been distant. She felt like screaming, but no sound came out. Instead, she slowly placed the invitation on the table, wiped her face, and stood up. She walked to the mirror and looked at herself. She didn't see weakness. She saw a woman who had been fooled, yes, but also a woman who still had power. She wasn't going to cry in a corner. Not this time. She was going to find out everything. Every lie. Every secret. And then she would decide what to do. But one thing was certain, Obinna had no idea what was coming. That wedding invitation, meant to shame her or scare her, had done the opposite. It had woken her up. The love she once had for him was already burning into something else, something stronger. Something sharp. And this story? It wasn't going to end the way Obinna planned. Not anymore. Nkiru walked into the bank that afternoon with no idea her life was about to flip again. She wasn't angry, not yet. She just wanted to transfer some money, maybe buy herself something small, a new dress, a new start, anything to stop the pain sitting heavy in her chest. The air in the bank felt normal. Staff greeted her politely. Everything seemed fine. She gave her account details to the front desk and was asked to wait. The manager, Mr. Adebayo, came out with a tight smile and invited her into his office. "Just a moment, madam," he said. She sat across from him as he clicked through his computer. His eyes moved quickly, scanning her account. Then he stopped. His hand froze on the mouse. His eyebrows pulled together in shock. Something wasn't right. Nkiru leaned forward a little. "Is everything okay?" He swallowed hard. "Madam, all your joint accounts were recently moved. The money, the ownership, everything is now under Mr. Obinna's name." Nkiru blinked. "That can't be. Those are joint accounts. We opened them together." "Yes, madam," the manager said, voice now softer, "but he submitted a request to change the ownership. And it was approved because the forms had your signature." Nkiru stared at him, confused. My signature. He nodded slowly, unsure how to meet her eyes. Yes, madam. The documents were signed by you. In that moment, the memory hit her like lightning. The paperwork Obinna gave her weeks ago, the ones he called just routine. The papers she signed without reading. Papers she thought were harmless. Her chest tightened, but she didn't cry. She stood up slowly, straightened her shoulders, and held her head high. Thank you, Mr. Adebayo, she said calmly. He looked at her, still worried. Madam, I'm really. She cut him off gently, but firmly. No need. This changes everything. As she walked out of the office, she didn't stumble. She didn't feel weak. She felt awake. Alive. The heartbreak had turned into something stronger. She had been tricked, betrayed, and robbed, not just of her money, but of her peace, her love, her dignity. And now, it was clear. Obinna had planned all of it. The fake documents. The sweet lies. The secret mansion. The wedding with Mbali. He thought she'd never find out. He thought she'd stay quiet, confused, broken. But he was wrong. As Nkiru stepped outside into the afternoon sun, the wind blew gently against her face. People passed by, not knowing a storm had just started in her heart. Her eyes burned, not with tears, but with fire. Obinna didn't just hurt her. He underestimated her. And now, he had made the biggest mistake of all, turning a calm woman into a fearless one. She whispered to herself, he wants war. He just got it. From that second, Nkiru was no longer waiting to be saved. She was the storm. The courtroom was packed. Everyone had heard whispers of the scandal, the respected businessman who betrayed his wife, the secret wedding, the stolen money. Obinna walked in with his usual fake confidence, dressed in a sharp suit, flashing smiles like nothing could touch him. He looked around, acting like the room belonged to him. But deep down, his heart beat a little faster. He didn't know what Nkiru had planned. He didn't know how much she had found out. And that uncertainty sat heavy in his chest. Nkiru sat calmly beside her lawyer, dressed in a simple but powerful outfit. She didn't need to shout. Her silence was already loud. Her eyes didn't even meet Obinna's when he tried to smirk at her. She had no time for games. The judge entered, and the session began. Obinna's lawyer started with sweet words, trying to paint him as a loving husband who was misunderstood. Obinna sat back, relaxed, like he had already won. Then it was Nkiru's lawyer's turn. Your Honor, the lawyer said, standing tall, what we're about to show will explain everything. And prove that this man is not just a liar, but a criminal. He pressed play on a small screen. The courtroom went silent as a hidden camera video started to play. The footage showed Obinna in his home office. He was laughing on the phone, saying, she didn't even read it. She just signed it like I told her. Then, the video zoomed in on the documents. Obinna's hands were seen moving papers around, lifting her signature from one form and placing it on another, the bank forms, the house documents. Clear, undeniable forgery. Gasps filled the room. Obinna's face changed instantly. The color drained. His smirk disappeared. He looked around like a man drowning, searching for something, anything, to save him. But it was too late. The evidence was clear. His lies had finally caught up with him. The judge banged the gavel. The sound echoed through the courtroom like thunder. Forgery. Fraud. Deception, the judge said, voice loud and firm. This court will not tolerate such betrayal, especially against a legal spouse. Obinna tried to speak, but no words came out. His mouth moved, but nothing made sense. The man who once held all the power now sat frozen, pale, and shaking. He turned to look for Mbali. Maybe she would be there, maybe she would support him. But the seat beside him was empty. Mbali was gone. She had disappeared the moment she heard about the trial. She didn't want to be part of the scandal. She had blocked his number. Left the mansion. Deleted every photo. All the love she once pretended to have. Gone, just like his money. Nkiru didn't smile. She didn't need to. The truth had spoken for her. In that courtroom, karma didn't whisper. It screamed. And Obinna, the man who thought he was untouchable, now sat in silence, completely destroyed by the woman he thought would never fight back. The courtroom drama had ended, but the real punishment was just beginning. After the judge declared Obinna guilty of fraud and forgery, the consequences hit him like a wave. The court ordered a full investigation into all his assets. Within days, everything he once bragged about, the luxury cars, the booming company, the mansion in Lagos, was frozen. Not sold. Not given away. Just locked down. He couldn't touch a single coin. The bank accounts were blocked. His business partners backed out, and investors pulled away. His reputation, once polished and powerful, was now dirty and ruined. Obinna stood outside the court building, looking nothing like the proud man who had walked in days earlier. His expensive suit was now wrinkled. His eyes were tired. His phone didn't ring anymore. His so-called friends had vanished. Even his relatives stopped answering his calls. And Mbali? The same woman he ruined his life for, nowhere to be found. She had packed her things and disappeared the moment the court froze the mansion. Love didn't survive when money left the room. As Nkiru stepped out of the court, she was calm, glowing, and strong. People turned to look at her, not with pity, but with admiration. She didn't yell. She didn't make a scene. She walked like a queen, straight and sure. And then she saw him, Obinna. Kneeling right there on the courthouse steps. His eyes filled with tears. His hands shaking as he reached out. Nkiru, please, he cried. Forgive me. I made a mistake. I lost everything. I need you. People watched in silence. Phones came out. Cameras clicked. But Nkiru didn't stop. She didn't look down. She didn't speak. She walked past him like he didn't exist, like the pain he caused was now just a closed chapter. And in that moment, the silence was louder than any words. It wasn't just rejection. It was a message: you chose this. Now live with it. Obinna stayed on his knees, not caring who saw. His pride? Gone. His ego? Shattered. The same man who once laughed behind Nkiru's back was now begging at her feet. But she owed him nothing. He took her love, her trust, her money, and used it all to build a lie. And now, he was the one left with nothing. Nkiru didn't smile, but her eyes said it all. This wasn't just a win. It was justice. Real justice. Not revenge, just balance. The world had turned, and truth had finally taken its place. She walked into her car, head held high, leaving behind a man who thought he was untouchable, now crushed under the weight of his own choices. No words were needed. The silence was enough. It screamed louder than any insult ever could. Obinna had lost everything, not just his money, but the woman who once loved him with her whole heart. And Nkiru? She walked away with something priceless: her power, her peace, and her pride. Obinna now lived in a small, cramped rented room on the edge of town. No air conditioning, no servants, no expensive wines. Just an old mattress, peeling paint, and the sound of fans that never worked. He had gone from living like a king to surviving like a man with nothing. The same hands that once signed deals were now doing dishes. The phone that used to ring non-stop. Silent. Even the mirror seemed to mock him. His pride, his power, his plans, all gone. One Saturday morning, he was lying on his bed, staring at the ceiling, when loud music suddenly blasted through the wall. Confused, he rushed to the window. The house next door, a new, beautiful mansion, was filled with laughter, music, and dancing. Cars were parked outside. People in fine clothes were walking in with gifts and smiles. A party? Here. Then he saw her. Nkiru. Glowing, graceful, powerful, stepping out in a red dress, smiling with confidence. She looked nothing like the woman he once lied to. She looked better. Free. Unbothered. He blinked in disbelief. How? He whispered. His eyes moved to the gate of the mansion. And there it was. A golden nameplate shining in the sun. Mrs. Nkiru Obinna, legally unbothered. His mouth fell open. She didn't just move on. She moved next door, in style. With peace. With power. With pride. And at that moment, Obinna finally understood. She didn't ruin him. He did that to himself. All she did, was rise.